So while I was hand lading this piece of threaded rod that's still stuck through the middle of this galvanised pipe, which I can turn via these bearings at the ends, one of the other things I was doing here was these rods weren't perfectly straight, and it was really hard to tighten them, so I thought I'd see how they'd go pulling them under tension to tighten them. I wanted to see if maybe I could leave them under tension in the printer so that it would help keep things straight. So it's been a bit of a torture test for the old bearings. I've done this up pretty tight. Just on those washers, it's probably a big no-no on how you should use everything you should never do to a bearing, but I've been doing it to torture test them. And it does actually feel a bit notchy now. I think you can see that clicky movement. So I'm going to pull it all apart and we're going to have an inspection of those bearings. Okay, so I've taken my rod out of my pipe, and pulling it under tension is definitely worked for keeping it straight. It's come out really, really good. I'm really happy with that. And the bearings have held up pretty well. This one at this end's a little bit worse for wear. A lot of that's just play between the inner ring of the bearing and the shaft there. It is a little bit bumpy and notchy feeling, this bearing, and there is a little bit more play there than was there originally. It's still holding up pretty good, and this one actually got torture tested really badly yesterday when I discovered how to pull these rods straight. They were pretty kinked up. They looked alright, but when you spun them, it was pretty obvious they were out of balance. So I actually hooked it under the shelf there, like so. Just the bearing, not the washer, no washers or anything on it. Just like that with the lock nut on the end. And I spun the other end with the drill, and I had a big long nut with joiner nuts. And I pulled it really hard with this hand while it was hooked on the shelf. And while it was spinning with the drill, I pulled really hard and let it thread all the way down. And as the nut went down, it just pulled it straight. It was a beautiful thing. But it did hammer the bearing a bit, so I thought I'd torture test some. Because they're only cheap. The cheapest, nastiest bearings I could find. I got them for these ones for $2 each at the local bearing shop. You get the same ones on eBay. Like, I think it was $3 for 10 or something. And there's some in the post, so I got more coming so I can afford to destroy a couple. And this one here, that was just part of my hand lathe rig, it's held up really nicely. It spins a little bit freer and you can feel a little bit of grit in there. It definitely feels used now, but there's not really any twist or wobble. I can't feel any play there with my fingers. It sits on the rod quite nicely too. It's definitely a tighter fit on the rod than the other one. So there has been some spinning inside the bearing inner housings going on there and wearing them down. But I'm quite impressed. There was quite a bit of tension on that with these curved nuts holding just the outer rim with that pressed down there like this. So that's just got the curved nut holding the outer rim, and this little tiny, sorry, the curved washer, and this tiny little small washer on the inside holding the inner rim on the other side. So the inner rim shouldn't really be spinning on the rod, but it looks like it has a little bit. Maybe that was happened more yesterday when I was doing the other torture test. Anyway, there you go, a couple of cheap skateboard bearings and some threaded rod, a bit of galvanised pipe, cordless drill, and you can make your own hand lathe. And it's also a great way to pull your rods straight, just by putting them under a bit of tension. And just a comparison, there's a brand new bearing there. And they actually come pre-greased, and they're supposed to be sealed. The seals, those are rubber seals there, they're not very good. The grease comes out pretty quickly when they start warming up. It's like a off-white, clear sort of Vaseline type paste. Petroleum jelly or something like that, grease, some sort. But this one's definitely smoother and stiffer feeling than the used one here, but there's not a lot of difference between them. This one spins a bit freer, but mostly that's just the lack of grease in there. It's still quite well lubed. So, cheapest, nastiest skateboard bearings that you can order off the internet, and they held up quite well. So if you had problems, you'd certainly use better ones. Okay, thanks for watching.